We're going to turn our attention to this other case that we've been monitoring at Court TV. It's the Suitcase murder by the River trial in Tennessee.
Defendant Jason Chen is facing life in prison if he's convicted by the jury in the death of his girlfriend, Jasmine Pace. Prosecutors say that Chen murdered Pace before leaving her remains in a suitcase.
On Wednesday, the state called the crime scene investigator, Michelle Johnson, to the stand to testify about the search of Chen's apartment during the investigation into Pace's death. Take a listen at some of what she testified to.
There's also on some of the walls, the bathroom tile, bathroom light switch, where there's at least two areas in the bedroom, the suspected blood.
Ma'am, I'm now showing you Exhibit 59. Can you point out the suspected blood in this photograph?
Right here in this grout line, as well as in this carpet area.
Do you see any suspected blood in this photograph?
It was this area right here that caught my attention.
Exhibit 68, was that a close-up of the preceding photograph?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. And in what rooms was the suspected blood located?
Living room, kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, all the rooms.
Every room?
Yes.
How would you describe the Blue Star reaction that you yourself observed inside Mr. Chen's apartment?
It was very intense and long duration. It was probably the most I'd ever seen on a reaction of the Blue Star on the crime scene.
Of those 10, 15 times that you've seen the film?
Yes.
Is there, I'm now showing you Exhibit 30. I'm going to zoom in. Is there a strong Blue Star reaction in the kitchen?
Yes.
Strong Blue Star reaction in the bathroom?
Yes.
Is there a strong Blue Star reaction in the bedroom?
Yes.
How many times have you used Blue Star?
Probably about 15 to 20 times.
Over how long of a period of time?
7.5 years.
Blue Star is considered a presumptive test for blood, right?
Correct.
Meaning it only suggests the presence of blood, but does not confirm it. Is that right?
That's correct.
Isn't it true that not all the evidence that you collected in this investigation was tested?
Correct.
What are we looking at here?
More blood stains.
Were those tested?
I do not know.
What are we looking at here?
Possible blood stain.
Was that tested?
I don't know. As a crime scene investigator, it's not up to me what gets tested and what doesn't get tested.
This is a tough case. It's right out of a horror movie.
Yeah, it is. It's awful. And the circumstances, I really can't imagine a defense that might be successful in a case like this.
No, this guy's going down. I would believe if, the testimony is dramatic. Still with us is the president of the Palm Beach County Bar Association, Andrea Lewis. Andrea, this is you have a victim in this case. Her arm, her wrist, right wrist is attached by handcuffs to her left ankle. 60 stab wounds. None of the 60 stab wounds in and of themselves were deemed to be fatal, meaning she was tortured and stabbed 60 times by this individual, Jason Chen. And the defense isn't arguing that he did it. There's blood all over his apartment, as we just heard there. There are some cases that are so gruesome that jurors just they get as upset as we do, and there's no real way around it. No matter what, you come up with an artful defense. In this one, it's diminished capacity. But your thoughts overall?
I mean, this is really horrific. So you have a circumstance where there is so much blood. I mean, the CSI testifies, the experienced CSI, that basically the entire house is sprayed with blood. She said every room had blood in it. So if to imagine what happened to this poor young woman. She was absolutely tortured. It appears that she may have been tortured in multiple areas of the house. The reaction, as we saw in some of those pictures, was actually sprayed out throughout the floor. It's whatever happened in there, and our imagination can run wild. Really was something straight out of a horror film, and something that no one should ever have to go through. Frankly, I feel terrible for the jurors to have to really live this in such great detail, because this is something they'll likely remember forever.
Yeah, it's a horrible case. And this is the one in which the mother investigated to find her daughter because the police weren't doing much. And then she actually broke in to his house to find some of her daughter's things. And then it went from there. But the defense at one time said, crime of passion. And this was something that he just did in the heat of the moment. They've also said self-defense because she had a glass and there was broken glass. But either one of those scenarios, I think that it's harder to believe when you've got 60 wounds, because you could have had time to stop yourself but didn't, but also then that she's found in a suitcase by a river. And at one point, when the mother calls the number on her phone and reaches this guy, the defendant, he acts like, oh yeah, I don't know where she is, I haven't seen her since then. So put all that together, do you think the defense might be successful in their claims?
No.
All right, next question. I'm not going to say a 0% chance, but as close to that as we can possibly get. Look, this is such a sympathetic case, and the mother, as you noted, she was trying to get in touch with her to tell her some devastating news about a family member. They clearly were very close, and then she goes as far to break into his house because, a mom just knows when their daughter is in trouble. This is really a sad case, and it's clear what happened here. And to his contention that there was some type of self-defense, generally speaking, when someone has acted in self-defense, they don't shove someone in a suitcase, lie to everybody about the person's whereabouts, and dump them out in the middle of nowhere. So it's not consistent, and I think the jury is definitely going to find him guilty, as they should.
And, the part of the equation is, if you're a juror, when you're looking at the defendant, you're absorbing all of the evidence here, one of the questions you're asking yourself, and it factors in either consciously or unconsciously, is, do we want this individual running around with us? And this guy checks that box with a huge no. And it doesn't really matter what the defense is at this point, because the evidence is so overwhelming. Why go to trial in a case like this? Because it is, it did get some publicity. Sometimes prosecutors just don't offer deals because they don't have to, right? They have the goods.
Absolutely. I've been on at least a handful of trials that I can think of in recent memory, which were cases, I'm talking in criminal cases, where the evidence was so overwhelming that there might even have been videos, DNA evidence, where you're thinking, who on earth what defendant in America would take this to trial? There's only one verdict, and there is basically a 0% chance, similar to here, that a jury would ever find otherwise. But sometimes defendants are just hard-headed, and they don't want to go down that easy, and so they make the state prove it, and that's their right. And so that may very well be what's happening here. And the prosecution, to the extent they did hold out and give no offer to settle or to resolve the case, good for them, because a case of this nature, he shouldn't have anything but the maximum.
Yeah, don't disagree with that. There's been discussion about the handcuffs on the victim. What do we know about those? How did they come to be? Let's listen back together to the medical examiner. This is Dr. Stephen Cogswell talking about those handcuffs on the victim.
These are the handcuffs, and you can see this is Jasmine Pace's right wrist and left ankle, and these are handcuffed together, and you can see these are not law enforcement handcuffs. These are what you would buy at Spencer's or something like this. This is not heavy duty at all. These, like the handcuffs, are not the typical heavy duty law enforcement type. They're, again, the sort of novelty type of cheap chrome-plated steel. And you can see that it's basically almost a lamp chain as opposed to a heavy-duty chain. And these would fit together like that. So the chain length isn't very long, and these, both of these have still some blood and rust on them.
Okay, novelty handcuffs. Does this at all speak to you to premeditation, planning, coming up with a way to accomplish this crime?
I mean, he wanted her to suffer. I mean, this is a bad guy, and I mean, these are just terrible allegations. And the fact that he did this to her, handcuffed her, you could, I mean, just trying to visualize what this poor girl went through is really too much for the imagination. I feel terrible for her, and I'm really glad to see that he's likely going to get his due.
Absolutely, and we'll continue to monitor that case.